Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show where Jesus is the prize, but not at the expense of some bad dad jokes, for sure. Don't be expecting any today, but you never know. Last week, we went over the common rivalry between hymns and modern worship. If you did not get a chance to watch that video, you can click right here and go ahead and watch that. We're going to be referencing some things that might be helpful in that video that we'll be talking about in today. But today, we are going to talk about lights and loud music. I get asked a lot of questions, like I said in the last one. I get asked lots of stuff, and among those common questions I get asked are, why do we need fancy colored lights? And before I get started, which, by the way, that's a very valid question. Why do we need fancy lights? And I'll address that in a little bit. But I want to make something clear. If you don't share the same opinion as me, which this is an opinion video, honestly, this is my opinion. I'm going to give some reasons why I have this opinion, some reasons I think that lights are helpful to the church, some things maybe we should avoid with lights being in the church, or production or presentation software, all these different things. If you don't share the same opinion as me, that is completely okay. That is totally fine. You can comment that down below. I would love to read it. I want to hear what you have to say about that. But this is my opinion. This is not factual as far as every church should implement what I have to say, right? This is for us. So let's get started. First, we need to understand what we're talking about here. Like I said, this is preference and style. Last week, we talked about all this conversation about lights and music being too loud. But we talked more about the music, I think solely on the music last week. This all originated during the Jesus movement in the 1960s and the 1970s. And during this time, musicians realized that they could sing about Jesus and be playing rock music. And this brought more and more music styles into the songs being written. If you think of bands like we can look today. If we look at a song, say, All the People Said Amen, like Matt Redman, the Matt Redman song, it has these upstrokes on the guitar, right? These upstrokes, and it has this very, like almost a reggae kind of vibe. I think it's about as reggae as you can get in the States, and still call it a worship song without thinking it's just a reggae song. And I'm a big fan of reggae. And then we get songs like You're Worthy of My Praise, like by Jeremy Camp, where it has just these big electric guitar, super fat riffs, right? The comparison there, that's where we get these different styles of music coming in. And not only did this movement bring different styles of music to the church, or different instruments like drums or electric keyboards, but it also brought with it different production styles. As the music evolved, so did the presentation of that music. There has to be a way to get words to people so they can sing. Hymns before this had all been using hymnals, right? Everybody's singing them, they're opening hymnals, and they say, turn to this page, and we're going to sing these stanzas, and everybody sings along. So with this new music, it was only fitting that there was a new way to sing these new songs. If there wasn't a new way utilized, then people would basically have to make a book of all these new songs, which I'm sure there is somewhere, or they would have to put the songs that were being written into the existing hymnals, and both of those are not practical ways to go about getting words to people, especially with the advancements of technology. And so that actually brings us to the first evolution of presentation software. Presentation software is just a fancy word to basically think of things like PowerPoint. That's a presentation software. That's all it is, right? To present the songs via software in a computer. And this is where we get the first advancement of that, is the overhead projector. I think my high school math teacher, who's actually my aunt, she used, I think, a couple times these overhead projectors, but I think that's the only real look at them that I actually saw. Even in grade school, we didn't really use them that much. So some of you more seasoned people out there who know what I'm talking about, you're laughing at me right now, knowing that I'm missing a lot with this. But basically, it's just clear sheets, right, on a projector. Light shines through the clear sheet, goes and hits a mirror, bounces, hits a wall, lights up the wall, and everybody can see the words or what you're saying, whatever you're writing on these sheets with an expo marker. I mean, everybody, the churches started to adopt this new form of presentation because it was so simple. It was so easy. It made total sense. You set up one thing, plug it in, and then you project your words onto the screen. Now everybody can see. You don't need all the books. You don't need all the hymnals and to be conducting people and telling them where to go. It was as easy as that. It's plugging it in. And as the music continued to evolve, so did the production within the churches. During the time between overhead projectors in the 1970s-ish, right, and then going to now in 2020, there are some major, and I am understating it, major leaps in technological advances. And as technology advanced, it became ingrained in American culture. The church began to adopt this culture as well. And just like the advances in music that we talked about last week, this change in production value was also not commonly accepted within the church. As the church began adding things like new projection software and lighting, right? There was more and more pushback among certain people within the church. If we look at where we're at today as far as production within the church goes, it has gotten crazy. I would argue to say some places are just absolutely out of hand when it comes to a lot of this stuff. There are churches with laser shows, fog machines, strobes, moving lights, gigantic projector screens, and these huge 30-foot LED walls that display words, or they have like motion graphics of dragons or whatever the heck. I don't know. Probably not a dragon, but kind of be cool. Now, that's obviously not the situation for every church, right? Not every single church has these things or all these things, but most churches have some form or another of these things, like lights, for example. A lot of places just have stage lights. There's a lot of churches have these things in small doses, but the question is, considering that all this stuff is out there, what is the point? And it's a really good question. Why do we need all this stuff? Shouldn't the gospel be appealing enough without all these lights and over-the-top production? Well, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. We don't need all these lights to honor God. No, that's ridiculous. If you think that, it's off. It's not even true. There's nothing more appealing than the gospel. Nothing. In the entire world, there's nothing more appealing than the gospel. But I believe that there is something very cool, right, about a good production value, having good production value within the church, and I believe there is a right way. I do believe there is a right way to go about using it within the church. In today's modern culture, our lives are filled with entertainment. The average American in 2019, according to psychology.com, I do believe is the reference there, they spent 153 minutes on social media. And over the course of your lifetime, this averages out to 6 years and 8 months of your life. The average over your lifespan for television is 8 years and 4 months. I don't know about you, but these numbers are absolutely stinking mind-blowing, and we could talk all day about how disgusting of a statistic that is, but I want to shift our brains just a little bit, right? We could talk about how that's horrible, or that's, or you can share opinions about the usage of phones and television all day long. But I want to shift our brains just a little bit here. When Paul was speaking to people about who Jesus was, what his plan was, the things about God, he wasn't using outdated references or foreign subjects to try to bring people and to know God. He was actually using things within the culture and references within the culture to present things about God, or to teach people about attributes of God, or what God's ultimate plan was for us. And I believe we should be doing the same thing as Paul. Now, for us today, obviously it looks different, right? But it is the same concept. Since we are so captivated by technology, and that's a no-brainer, we are so captivated by technology that I think we as the church have a wonderful opportunity during this time to use that, to know that people are captivated, and to use that to bring people in the doors. I mean, That is the whole reason LifePoint is even on YouTube or any social media platform, is to meet people where they're at. Now, with that being said, we as the church shouldn't we as the church, all of it, all of the church, us as the people in the church, shouldn't be using technology for the sole purpose of entertainment. That is certainly not what the church is about. We're not about entertaining, right? But if we can find a way to use these tools like technology and lights and music and all these things, we can use it and capture the attention of people as they scroll across a sea of filth, as everything they're seeing, they're just bombarded with absolutely awful things. If we can use that, then why not try? Why not try to use it? The same way social media is used can be said for lights. It's as a way to meet people where they are. How many concerts have you seen or have you went to where they don't have a killer sound system or they don't have awesome lights? If you went and saw your favorite band and you walked in and they're not standing on a stage and they're standing on the floor and no one's plugged in, but they're still using their electric guitars and you can't hear anything and you're in the back and there's 20,000 people in the room, you'd be like, that was a horrible concert. Why did they do that? That was so lame, right? And who are the people at these concerts? Well, they're the same people in the grocery stores. They're the same people that work at banks. They're the same people that work at fast food restaurants. They're the same people that, like myself, who work in churches. They're broken people. We're all broken, and those are the people we're trying to meet. And for most people that go to church for the very first time, or who are the concept of church is actually foreign to them, those people don't see music like believers do. They don't see these songs as songs of worship. They just see it as music. When they first walk in and they see people playing on stage, it's a concert. That's all it is. Every week there's this little mini concert. How cool, right? So my argument is let's capture their attention with what they think is a concert and then teach them about what we're actually doing, which is worshiping God. But with that being said, I don't think that production within the church is only for people who are new to church. I think it's a wonderful tool for those who are believers as well. Music has been a tool used for therapeutic purposes, for people with brain injuries, because of its link not only to things like memory, but also our brain responds with the release of dopamine. And dopamine, if you know anything about the brain, is in control of a lot of things as far as emotions and just feeling good and all these things. And so they actually use music to bring this calming effect to people with songs that they used to love so much. Now, I'm not just saying this because I think science is cool, but rather, since God created the science that our brain uses to operate, I think we can take this information and it can be useful and beneficial to bringing people to God. And that's why in any worship ministry I'm a part of, we put such a big emphasis on the importance of the music sounding good, not for perfection's sake, but because we want to bring something that's honoring God in the preparation, yes, but we also want to eliminate any distractions for people as they're worshiping, as they're singing along within the church. And the same goes for our visual senses. Our sense of sight is the first indicator of what the rest of our emotions, how the rest of our emotions will respond. And so how important should it be then when people walk into the church for their first instinctual response as a human to think, this is safe, this is peaceful, this is calming, this is perfect, I'm okay to be here. And it's actually why a lot of churches, whether they know it or not, use the color blue, is because the color blue triggers a response in your brain that is relaxing and peaceful and safe. Now, just like last week, there's a couple concerns with this that I've heard, and with the case that I'm making here about production value. And these concerns are completely valid. One of these concerns is that we shouldn't use lights in production because people basically just don't like the idea of using things like blue lights, for example, to provoke peace, right? That we're man-making something that God supplies. And that is 100% correct. God is the only one who can bring true peace and comfort. I will never say anything other than that. And he is absolutely the focus, and we will continue especially here at Life Point and any church that I've been a part of, will continue to preach that message. The point of using lights is not to make someone feel something that isn't actually there. We're not trying to trick anybody, right? That is not our goal by any means. But we want to present a space where distractions are eliminated as best as we can possibly make it. And in that space, it is very clear what we're doing, and we're making it very clear that God is the focus of what we're doing, but that has to be done well. I am not saying that requires every gadget within the book. At all, Scripture says that God is not a God of disorder, and I don't know about you guys, but when I walk into a room and there's just tons and tons of LED lights, there's huge walls and laser shows, it ends up just being too much. I just get distracted. I'm looking at the lasers and I'm not even listening to anything the band is actually singing. I'm not focusing on the words. And this especially doesn't work for the average church size in America, which is from 50 to 150 people. That's overkill. It's too much. Whenever I've helped with stage design for any church, the main focus has always been to make sure nothing is distracting, nothing's taking away from God and the focus that's on God. The focus should always be on Christ, and using production tools, in my opinion, is a great way to give people a space where they feel free and comfortable enough to be intimate with God in a time of worship. Now, this does not mean that my opinion is the right opinion. It is just my personal preference. Everyone likes something different. And for those of you who don't like any of this stuff, it's totally okay. That's totally fine. Absolutely, it's 100% okay to disagree. But I hope you can see where those of us who do like this production value, who do enjoy this stuff, I hope you can see where we're coming from a little bit more. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Absolutely, I hope you enjoyed it. If there's something that you want us to talk about, if you want a specific person on the show, I can get Justin Timberlake on here for all I know. I've never tried to call him. Maybe it's just as easy as getting the number, who knows? But if you would like to hear us talk about something, then please leave it down in the comments. We would absolutely love to hear it. If you enjoyed this video, then leave a like. If you have not already, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Remember to hit that little bell icon. That'll keep you updated on when we have new content come out. And as always, guys, we're praying for you. Please be praying for us. We'll continue to update as far as church building things go, where we're at with gathering, all of that stuff during this time of just absolutely uncertainty. Man, we love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless you.